Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things right through a common sense lens. And holy cow. Okay, like we know the Doctor Who over the last 5-6 years, essentially since Chris Chibnall took over, has done some drastic damage to the brand overall, right? We've saw retcons of traditional stories, the kind of the lore behind it, right? William Hartnell, according to BBC, Disney Doctor Who, and Chris Chibnall, of course, is no longer the original Doctor. Now it's this little black girl out there that was this alien that just fell through space right there. Obviously, they've done all kinds of other things with the Ronnie, especially under Russell T Davies, bringing back all of these characters out there. Of course, they even plan to initially bring back Susan. So there's been a lot of changes and a lot of damage that has been done to the lore, and Russell T Davies is an absolute champion of all of that kind of stuff. From giving us our first on-screen gay Doctor interracial kiss in the past, while the Doctor runs off and abandons his companion, to all kinds of the first bi-regeneration as nothing more than essentially an escape plan for how much of a disastrous dumpster fire they already knew that Ncuti Gat was going to end up turning into. So needless to say, boys and girls, things have been wild inside of the Doctor Who universe. And leave it to Russell T Davies as is on his way out the door, at least from Disney anyway, for his last hurrah on the Mickey Mouse dime to not only push a full-blown green agenda, which apparently he believes every single writer in the world should be thinking about ways to write about. On top of all of that, he's also going to change the name of a classic Doctor Who villain because, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, just like everything else this guy gets a hold of, just like everything else the Spirit of the Age gets a hold of, they have to rewrite it and change history from all of those evil, racist kind of ways from back in the day, boys and girls. So color us shocked there. This is from Collider.com. Russell T Davies confirms he's changing the racist name of a classic Doctor Who villain. Yes, boys and girls, in the War for the Land and the Sea, the special that's coming up here shortly that won't contain the Doctor Who, it won't contain the Doctor at all, it'll just be a Doctor Who spinoff special that Disney paid for. Yes, its main protagonist, its villain, will be getting its name changed, although I kind of hope he's half joking. But at the end of the day, if nothing else, this gives us an incredible insight into how this man's mind works when it comes to writing in this modern era out there. And I think it'll show you and give you a wonderful insight to prove to you this insanity for Doctor Who and what he wanted to intend from the get-go was nothing more than pushing a messaging and using it as nothing more than a voice piece and a skin suit for his own nonsense and garbage. And trust me, I think about anybody with any common sense Whovians out there can look back at the history of Doctor Who over the last few years and say that is very much an obviously true thing. So we're going to check out this article from Collider.com, getting all the juicy details of exactly what Russell T Davies has said and the inside of that disturbed little head of his. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are grinding, we are growing. We just crossed 2,300. We're inching our way closer and closer to 24. I think we're sitting at like 2385, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below later what you think of all this. Does it surprise you at all that Russell T Davies believes that every single writer out there in movies and television should be an activist just like him? Does it surprise you at all that they're changing a classic Doctor Who's villain's name all because of modern racism? Or do you think all of this is just one more dying gasp of a last dying breath of a series that is completely and totally shuttered and destroyed by the Spirit of the Age woke mind virus? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well, as this is my full-time job. Praise be to the Lord, boys and girls. All right, from Jake Hodges over there at Collider.com. And you know what? Shout out to Jake for at least stating the obvious about the current state of Doctor Who. Now, he doesn't talk about the giant elephant of the room of activism that has caused the destruction of current Doctor Who under the Disney label. No, but at least he admits that, needless to say, it's been a little bit of an unsuccessful era for Russell T Davies' return to Doctor Who. The uncertainty surrounding the future of Doctor Who, concerning the fact that essentially Disney knows it's canceled and the best thing they had was a Hail Mary, push it off till next year Christmas special, which who's going to be the Doctor? You're going to bring Billy Piper and David Tennant back? oh, it's almost like you knew that black gay doctor thing wasn't going to work out, and you wrote the By Generation so that you could return to Tenet, somebody who might actually bring a few viewers back in. But considering what they did to Tenet in the Christmas special, don't think that's going to happen, boys and girls. As it was confirmed, the uncertainty surrounding Doctor Who, as it found it will come to an end. As it was confirmed that the sci-fi series would return in 2026 Christmas special, written by showrunner Russell T Davies. Most notably, the series would return without the Disney partnership as the two-part ways following what would consider a turbulent and overall unsuccessful era. That's a very nice way of saying they wasted hundreds of millions of dollars for the end result of having nothing more than the lowest ratings in the 60-year history of the show. I'd say that's a little bit more than an unsuccessful era. We would call it a disastrous dumpster fire. It is now time to move on from Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor and look to the future of a series that hopefully won't rely so heavily on the past. Because if you weren't aware, if you, like the hundreds of millions of other Whovian fans around the world out there, didn't watch BBC's most recent version of Disney Doctor Who with Russell T Davies as the showrunner, it was literally nothing more than bringing back things from classic Doctor Who. They brought back the Ronnie, they brought back the Toy Maker, and they even planned on bringing back Susan, the Doctor's granddaughter, before that got scrapped because Ncuti Gatwa told us that working for Russell T Davies on Doctor Who was a little too hard on his knees, boys and girls. I'll leave that up to your imagination as to why. However, over a year is a long time to wait for fans of any series with Whovians, and thankful for the upcoming release of the spin-off, The War Between the Land and the Sea. Oh, are we? Are we excited about that, Collider? Starring Gemma Redgrave's Kate Stewart, which I love Kate. Brigadier Lethbridge Stewart's daughter. I love Kate Stewart. I thought she was a great character, especially in the 50th anniversary special. Kate Stewart is not going to be bringing me in to watch this show. As well as Gugamot Ra, Ruth Maildy, and Colin McFarlane, Alexander Dervin, and more. The spinoff promises a more grounded drama compared to the universe-spanning adventures of the main series, with it confirmed that the unit team will go head-to-head with the classic Doctor Who monsters, the Sea Devils. The Sea Devils. Now, let me ask you something, Whovians. In your entire history of watching Doctor Who, and knowing about the Sea Devils, hearing about the Sea Devils, or watching them on the series, was there at any point out there that you thought the Sea Devil's name was racist? At any point? Or is this just people that live in an echo chamber looking for any kind of slightest evidence of their own confirmation bias that prior to them existing in the world, everything was racist and sexist? Anybody? Anybody out there? Please give me an explanation for this one. Please. Please. However, showrunner Davies has now revealed that he intends to change the discourse around the villains, suggesting somewhat playfully that the current image is somewhat racist, at least within the world of the series that is. Well, it's the series they created for us. It's the series that Russell T Davies has been driving into the ground even farther than we already thought it could over the last few years. But yeah, and suggestively playfully, he's joking, right? Maybe it's just a joke. We'll see. But at the end of the day, even just this joke of a suggestion alone, if it is that, we'll find out here shortly, shows you the context of his mindset when it comes to writing Doctor Who. Just wait. It's racist to say Sea Devil, Davies confirmed in a recent interview, confirming that they prefer to be called Homo Aqua. Well, we all know which of those words Russell T Davies identifies with more now, won't we? And normally, I'm a live and let live guy, right? I grew up in the 90s. I grew up in a mixed race family. You know what? Don't dick with me. I won't dick with you. But the problem is, Russell T Davies is no longer just a general, common sense, average homosexual man out there just trying to live his life. No, Russell T Davies believes that it is his goal in life to spread his propaganda and insert it into every single aspect that he can of anything he works on, despite the destruction and the devastation it causes to the overall brand. Because his priority is his agenda, and where his genitalia ends up is more important to him than giving us good stories. Don't believe me? Well, here's his idea. Russell T. Davies, this is his thinking. I think every writer in the world is thinking, how do you write about the climate crisis? Really? Every writer in the world has the climate crisis in the forefront of their mind when they're writing stories. So if you're a writer for Batman, if you're a writer for Marvel, if you're a writer for, I don't know, One Piece, according to Russell T. Davies, if you're not constantly thinking about how to interject the alleged climate crisis out there into every one of your storytellings, well, you're going to end up being on the wrong side of history now, aren't you? Aren't you, buddy? You're going to be wrong. There's one of those bigots and phobes and ists out there that Russell T. Davies is trying to educate. And it's okay, because it doesn't matter how much of the Doctor Who fan base or the viewing numbers he has to sacrifice on the altar to his cult. Because what writer in the world isn't thinking about how do you write about the climate change? Well, apparently Russell T. Davies, that's all he can think about. We're already in a climate war. This just dramatizes it. When they first approached me about coming back to Doctor Who in 2021, when they first approached him about coming back, this was the first bit of my pitch. His only desire to return to Doctor Who was so he could push his propaganda and his agenda. Yeah. Remind me again how Russell T. Davies is the greatest showrunner ever of Doctor Who. Yeah. Moffat is and always will be the superior showrunner for modern Doctor Who. Why do I say that? Because despite all of his Moffatisms, Moffat prioritized good storytelling and what made Doctor Who over his own personal agenda and his beliefs about the climate crisis, or whether or not the Doctor should be a flamboyant homosexual. So he just right here confirms in this interview that his only reason he came back to Doctor Who was to push his agenda. He confirms it. Not my words, his. It was my first pitch to them when they asked me to come back to Doctor Who. I had this idea separately first, but weirdly, it needs the Doctor Who setting. If I just go and pitch this cold, saying there's a race of creatures that lives in the sea, they say, really? You sure? The pre-existence of the sea devils takes all of the problems out of it. So he had already had an idea for an agenda-driven story that he wanted to push. And so what does he do? Does he respect the Sea Devils source material? Does he respect their lore for how Doctor Who and what came before? Nope. He flat out confirms to you that the Sea Devils will be nothing more than an excuse to push his agenda and further his garbage. That's exactly what it was for. That's all he wants to use them for. He doesn't care about the Sea Devils. He doesn't care about Doctor Who. The only thing he cares about is using it for a vehicle to push his message. And the last of the Disney money he had spent is on this. A propaganda piece using Doctor Who as set dressing to push his climate change agenda. Wow. Really sounds like Doctor Who, huh? Modern politics inside of... It's always been political. No, it's always been moral. It's always been moral. We used to understand what good and evil was. We used to understand what right and wrong were. And everybody could agree that certain things are evil and certain things are bad. climate change and the political agenda behind it is nothing more than that. It's politics. And if you really believe that a possible few shifts in degrees over a period of 100 years is worth sacrificing the 60-year history of Doctor Who and its legacy, you're going to walk into hell screaming that God was a bigot and the pineapple up your rear end won't even change things. Shout out to little Nicky. As already mentioned, the upcoming spinoff will look to take the concepts of Doctor Who and ground them on Earth and a grittier centralized story. But what exactly is the war between the land and the sea about? When a fearsome and ancient species emerge from the ocean, dramatically revealing themselves to humanity, an international crisis is triggered. The official synopsis of the spinoff reads, when the entire population at risk, UNIT steps into action as the land and the sea wage war. Will they be successful, or perhaps they'll need to call in the help of their favorite Time Lord? Only time will tell, with the show expected to debut very soon. Is anybody at this point wondering why the Sea Devils are going to come out of the ocean? Is anybody wondering what the argument, the drama, the controversy, the battle is going to be between UNIT and the Sea Devils, the Aquahomas, the Homa Aquas? Come on. You're not stupid. We all know what's coming, right? I'm going to tell you right now. Spoiler! I'm going to tell you how the story goes in case you didn't know. The Sea Devils are going to come out of the sea. They're going to attack some industrial places, right? Probably wipe out maybe some oil refineries, maybe some factories, or maybe they'll just hold them hostage and threaten it in case you actually don't want to see the Sea Devils go that far, because of course they're going to be another sympathetic villain, just like every other villain we've seen come out of modern activist Hollywood over the last 10 years. So the Sea Devils are going to come in and they're going to tell the humans that they're bad. Right? They're going to come in, they're going to tell the humans they're bad, and they have to stop damaging the environment because it's destroying the oceans and threatening their way of life. And if the humans don't do something about it to stop their evil ways of pollution and climate change, then the Sea Devils are going to wipe them out. So what's going to happen there? Well, in comes UNIT, the scientist. Remember, science leads, Kate. That's what your father said, right? So how are they going to use that legacy of Kate Ledbridge Stewart, of the general? How are they going to use that? How are they going to use that of Colonel Ledbridge Stewart? How are they going to use that for Ledbridge Stewart's legacy? While no longer being the crazy militaristic arm, trying to just go out there and wipe out every alien and actually trying to maybe go in and understand and maybe save a few things out there. No, now, Kate's going to admit to the Sea Devils that humanity is evil and that they are wrong and that they are going to have to do something to change things. And she's going to work with the United Nations and the rest of the governments of the world, and they're going to fix this climate crisis. And they're going to come to a nice peace treaty with the Sea Devils. And the Sea Devils are going to go from the villains to being just misunderstood guys that were really just trying to do the good thing out there, right? Because that's how Russell T Davies views himself. He knows he's evil. He knows he's a villain, right? He knows what he's doing is destructive and damaging. But in his own world, in his own viewpoint, he believes that every damage, every piece of destruction, all the millions of dollars he is wasting to push his message and destroy the legacy of Doctor Who is worth it. Because we're evil. We're the bad guys. Humanity is a problem and needs to be expunged. And Russell T Davies will remind you of that in his next iteration of Doctor Who. When this show comes out, when this special comes out, that's exactly what it's going to be. And Russell T Davies told you that this was his goal right from the very get-go with Doctor Who. That if this propaganda story didn't get made, he wouldn't have returned. So no, Russell T Davies doesn't give a shit about Doctor Who. He doesn't care about the fans, and he certainly doesn't care about the legacy of what came before. All he cares about using Doctor Who, just like every other woke activist out there, is a vehicle for his message, to push his agenda. The real question is, are you a Whovian fan first, or are you an agenda fan first? Because at the end of the day, Doctor Who fans have decided that this show is a miserable failure. And activists like Russell T Davies can continue to run out of other people's money for as long as they want, or for as long as it lasts, because clearly that has already come to fruition. Disney has abandoned Disney Doctor Who, and Russell T Davies' activism and using it as a vehicle for his message is exactly what has destroyed and devastated Doctor Who. And guess what? It was his plan right from the get-go, just like every other activist out there. And Russell T Davies, you will get what you deserve. You danced with the devil in the pale moonlight and you destroyed a 60-year legacy, all so you could promote where you wanted to put your dick. I hope it was worth it. But at the end of the day, we all know that you are going to walk into hell screaming that God was a bigot and you were right all along. And even the pineapple up your ass will not convince you otherwise. If anything, you'll probably moan in ecstasy when it happens, right before the flames and the rest of the torture come for you. Because at the end of the day, Russell T Davies, you have been doing the devil's work for a long time and destroyed what used to be a family-friendly show, all so you could have all of your homo climate agenda all over the place. I hope you end up thinking it's worth it, because at the end of the day, we know what we have lost, and the fans have decided that your agenda is bullshit and nobody wants a part of it. And you thought the ratings were bad for Disney Doctor Who? I can't wait to see how much a disastrous dumpster fire this special works out to. Because after all, go woke, go broke. And Doctor Who went very woke under Russell T Davies.
A big shout out to all of our subscribers and members out there. Thanks for watching, and make sure you guys like and subscribe if you have not already.